Hello and good morning. My name's Don Arleth and you're watching World News, coming to you live from Warsaw. Israeli naval forces have intercepted the global Simoon flotilla in international waters. Polish citizens are aboard some of the stopped ships. The humanitarian fleet is sailing towards Gaza, aiming to deliver aid to the strip's displaced population.
Polish MP Franciszek Sterczewski was aboard one of the intercepted vessels, alongside Polish citizens and activists Omar Fares and Karolina Ptak. Another ship carried Swedish activist Greta Thunberg. The flotilla reported communications disruptions on Wednesday as the ships neared Gaza. Some of the convoy's boats were then intercepted and boarded by Israeli soldiers, prompting international protests. Israel's foreign ministry said the halted vessels were, quote, safely stopped, and that those aboard were being transferred to Israel. The Polish Foreign Ministry reported on social media that its officials are in contact with Israeli authorities regarding the detained Polish nationals. The flotilla includes over 40 boats, and reports say 13 have now been intercepted, with the rest continuing their journey to reach Gaza with humanitarian aid. Aboard one of the boats still underway is Polish activist Ewa Jasiewicz. According to latest reports from the organizers, the ships were around 40 nautical miles away from the Gaza shore early on Thursday morning.
Power supply to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant has been restored following an outage brought on by Russian airstrikes in the area. The announcement was made by Kyiv's energy minister. Ukrainian authorities say that there is now no threat to the local population, as the radiation levels are within the controlled norm. Power supply to the plant was cut off as Russia launched airstrikes that damaged local power lines. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant sarcophagus lost power as well. The sarcophagus is a massive steel and concrete structure that shields the facility's reactor number 4. It was built in the aftermath of the 1986 Chernobyl disaster. French soldiers boarded a tanker off the western coast of France, reportedly linked to Russia's shadow fleet, AFP reported on Wednesday. The vessel, located in the Atlantic Ocean near Saint-Nazaire, is now under investigation by French authorities. AFP, citing aerial photos, reported that soldiers were seen patrolling the tanker's deck. French media revealed on Tuesday that an investigation had been launched, and on Wednesday, the prosecutor's office stated that the probe concerns the crew failing to disclose the ship's identity and disobeying orders. 2 crew members were detained on Wednesday. Reuters, referencing ship traffic data, also reported on Wednesday that a French warship had been shadowing the tanker. Europe needs to patrol its waters, said Michael Carpenter, who served as a senior advisor in the Biden administration. Referring specifically to Russia's shadow fleet, the American diplomat was a guest on TVP World's On the Record during the Warsaw Security Forum.
The shadow fleet is the perfect example. If we were serious about imposing an oil price cap on Russia to strangulate their oil revenues, then we could do it, but we would have to have very robust enforcement. Very few Western nations are willing to enforce the oil price cap in a way that would make it truly effective as a cost imposition measure.
But your administration was also against a sort of tough cap on oil prices. Were they?
I mean, we're the administration that first imposed the oil price cap in the first place.
But then at the level that...
It's a matter, but what I'm talking about is not just imposing the cap, but then enforcing it with robust enforcement. And frankly, a lot of these ships are flowing through the Baltic. So it's really up to European nations. And this goes to the criticism that Trump has levied against Europeans, and that frankly, the previous administration as well, that Europe needs to patrol its waters and needs to enforce the rules of the road when it comes to this shadow fleet.
American media are reporting that Donald Trump's shifted approach to the war in Ukraine is not only theoretical, but also practical. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. president has agreed to share intelligence with Ukraine, which will enable attacks deep into Russian territory. According to sources cited by the outlet, the U.S. will share with Kyiv intelligence data necessary to strike Russian energy infrastructure far away from the front line. Washington has also reportedly asked its allies to do the same. The Wall Street Journal has highlighted that the move marks a serious shift in Donald Trump's approach, as it's the first time that the current administration gives support to long-range attacks against Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has called on European leaders to prioritize the creation of a drone wall as the continent faces increasing hybrid attacks from Russia. He made the remark in an address to members of the European Council.
Russia is trying to go further. They always begin with hybrid attacks, and first it's something small, then something bigger. There is always a next step. I believe Europe will need to build a drone wall sooner rather than later. And drones are becoming a main weapon for armies and for criminal or terrorist groups. This is a fact. And another fact should be our joint readiness to defend our people and infrastructure. And the sooner we all implement the SAFE program together, the better. It can really speed up the idea of the drone wall. And we have to understand that the drone wall is not just about Ukraine, our neighbors, or the eastern flank. It's not only about our borders or our region. Russian drones and Russian threats are now a real issue for all countries on the shores of the Baltic Sea, and that means for all coastal countries in Europe. That's most of Europe. Today, it's drones. Tomorrow, it could be missiles. The day after, new technology.
The European Union wants to be able to defend itself by the year 2030. At an EU meeting in Copenhagen on Wednesday, leaders agreed on launching 2 additional defense projects, the European Drone Wall and the Eastern Flank Watch.
The Eastern Flank Watch. This project aims to counter the full spectrum of threats at our eastern borders. A core element of these will be the so-called drone wall. It is basically an anti-drone system that is able to do swift detection, interception, and of course, if necessary, neutralization. Here we draw a lot on Ukraine's expertise, of course.
And leaders broadly supported initial priority flagship projects that will strengthen Europe's security, including the European Drone Wall and the Eastern Flank Watch. This is a key step on our path to achieving common defence readiness by 2030.
Our main goal is simply to building a Europe so strong that war not will be an option. This is our main task in these weeks and months, and unfortunately also years. And now we are ready to take the next steps.
The European Union has approved a €4 billion loan for Ukraine, backed by frozen Russian assets, the country's foreign ministry announced on Wednesday. The move comes as member states continue the debate on using Russia's frozen funds to finance additional support for Kyiv. According to the ministry, the funds will help strengthen Ukraine's budget in key areas, including defense, social spending, and recovery. The latest tranche raises the total support provided through the Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration for Ukraine initiative to 14 billion out of the 18 billion euros expected by the end of the year. Ahead of the EU's summit in Copenhagen, European leaders also backed the idea of using Russia's foreign assets to provide Ukraine with a 140 billion euro loan, which the war-torn country would only need to repay once Moscow covers war reparations. However, some member states caution that several legal hurdles must still be cleared before such a plan can be put into action. Russia's recent fuel shortage has prompted the country to plan fuel imports from several Asian nations, including China, according to a Russian daily Kommersant. The move comes after a series of drone attacks damaged key oil refineries. With gas running out at the pumps, the government plans to cut import duties in some regions and subsidize the price gap between global and local markets. Kommersant reports that the Kremlin is counting on supplies from China, Singapore, South Korea, and neighboring Belarus. The plan would allow Russia to bring in up to 350,000 tons of gasoline and 100,000 tons of diesel each month. As of September 28th, 38% of Russia's refining capacity has been taken offline by long-range Ukrainian drone strikes. Ukraine's victory will weaken Putin and will strengthen inspirations of the post-Soviet nations. Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya told TVP World how Ukraine's fight against Moscow is linked to anti-Russian resistance in Belarus and other post-Soviet states.
I met with General Kellogg for specifically Belarusian topics, though of course we explained how victory of Ukraine important for Belarus as well. Victory of Ukraine will give opportunity to many other post-Soviet Union countries, to strengthen our independence, because Russia doesn't see Belarus, Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, Armenia as independent countries. They want us to be their satellites, to be like they treat us absolutely as not a children who decided, to choose their future by themselves. No, just return to our common past. But we are sovereign countries. We want to, Belarusians, for example, want to be part of European family of countries, because we historically belong to Europe and we mentally Europeans. So that's why victory of Ukraine will weaken Putin and will strengthen actually